Paliwanag nga kung anong ibig niyong sabihin.
The court hereby finds all the accused guilty beyond reasonable doubt of the crime of rape with homicide.
Hindi po naman totoo yan, nagbibiro lang po ako nun.
Sa dami kasi ng pasa ni Allan, hindi to pwedeng makuha niya sa pagkabagsak. Buong base nung ulo ni Allan Gomez, durog lahat yun, basag lahat yun.
It's around 9:15 when we separated. Sabi ko nga sa kanya, huwag na siyang lumabas. Tapos sabi naman niya sa akin, hindi sasaglit na ako, pupuntahan ko lang si Gina.
I don't think people understand just how dark and shocking the case of Eileen Sarmenta and Allan Gomez truly is. This story will haunt you. Once, there were two students, Eileen Sarmenta and Allan Gomez, young, full of dreams, studying at a university in the Philippines. Their lives were just beginning, surrounded by family and friends who believed in their future. But that future was stolen in a brutal, unimaginable way. This is not just a crime story, it's about power, corruption, and a community's fight for justice. In the same province lived Antonio Sanchez, the powerful mayor of Allan, Laguna. He ruled with an iron fist, feared and seen as untouchable. His name would become forever linked with Eileen and Allan's, revealing a darkness many refused to believe. The story is about what happens when power is abused and a system fails its people. The crime was so shocking it became a national nightmare. It began with a terrible plan. The mayor's men were searching for a gift for their boss. That gift was not an object, it was Eileen Sarmenta. The events that followed exposed a deep sickness in the community. The case would test the country's faith in its justice system. Eileen and Allan became symbols of innocence lost. Antonio Sanchez became the face of terrifying abuse of power. Their story began on a dark road in 1993, but its echoes are still heard today. It's a reminder of a crime that should never be forgotten. This is the story of two students, a corrupt mayor, and a nation forced to confront its own darkness. The tragedy would change lives, and the country forever. And it all started with a gift no one could ever return. Eileen Sarmenta was a bright, ambitious student at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. She was passionate about agriculture, an honor student, and beloved by friends and family. At just 21, her future seemed limitless. Allan Gomez, 19, was her classmate, reliable, caring, and full of dreams. On June 28, 1993, Allan offered Eileen a ride home after a day of studying. It was a simple, kind gesture between friends. They had no idea they were being watched or that their lives were in danger. Their last moments together were ordinary. Two students talking and laughing, unaware of the darkness ahead. That night, their innocence would be shattered. Their families remember them as vibrant, hopeful, and hard-working. Eileen was the studious daughter, Allan the dependable son. They represented the best of their generation. Their loss was not just a private tragedy, it was a blow to the entire community. The violence that took them was senseless, extinguishing two bright lights. Their story is a stark reminder of how quickly hope can be destroyed. Eileen and Allan's memory lives on, not as victims, but as symbols of potential lost. Their journey ended too soon, but their legacy endures. The tragedy would unite a nation in grief and outrage. On that dark June night, Eileen and Allan drove along a familiar road, unaware of the danger ahead. Suddenly, a vehicle blocked their path. Armed men, police officers meant to protect, forced them out of the van. Allan was beaten, tied up, and thrown into another vehicle. Eileen was taken too. One chilling phrase was heard, "She's a gift for the mayor." The abduction was swift and brutal, carried out in public with no fear of being stopped. These men were part of Mayor Sanchez's security team, acting on his orders. Eileen and Allan were driven away into the night, their pleas for help lost. This was no random crime. It was calculated, a demonstration of power. The kidnapping was the first step in a horrific chain of events. For Eileen and Allan, their last ride was not to their homes, but to a place of unimaginable suffering. The boldness of the crime sent a message. The mayor could take whatever or whoever he wanted. Witnesses would later recount the terror of that night. The community was left in shock, unable to comprehend such evil. The students' fate was sealed the moment they were taken. Their story would soon become a national tragedy. The darkness that claimed them revealed the true face of power in Calauan. Their last journey was a descent into horror, and the nation would never be the same. Antonio Sanchez was more than a mayor. He was a political kingpin in Calauan. He ruled with a mix of generosity and fear, backed by a private army of police bodyguards. His public image was strong, but whispers of violence and corruption surrounded him. Those who crossed him faced serious consequences. He seemed untouchable above the law. The chilling phrase, "a gift for the mayor," pointed directly at him. This was not a random act, but a crime for his personal pleasure. The idea that a public official could be involved in such horror shocked the nation. Eileen was taken to the mayor's farm, presented as a prize. The crime was an assertion of dominance, not just an abduction. Sanchez saw people as objects for his use. The investigation would soon reveal the depth of his corruption. His rule was built on fear, and now the truth was coming to light. The mayor's shadow loomed over every detail of the case. After the abduction, Eileen was taken to Sanchez's farm, where she endured unimaginable horror. Court testimony revealed that Sanchez assaulted her, treating her as property. When he was done, he handed her over to his men, who continued the assault. Eileen suffered for hours at their hands. Meanwhile, Allan was held captive, beaten and tortured, helpless to save his friend. The nightmare ended in a remote sugarcane field. Eileen and Allan were both shot. Their lives ended in cold blood. Their bodies were left in the field as if their killers believed the crime could be erased. The next day, local farmers discovered the horrific scene. The community was shaken to its core. The brutality was almost too much to comprehend. The crime was not just against two individuals, but against humanity itself. The nation mourned the loss of two promising lives. The truth of what happened would haunt the country for years. The unspeakable acts committed that night left a wound that would never fully heal. News of Eileen and Allan's deaths spread quickly, shocking the nation. The brutality of the crime dominated headlines and television screens. Outrage erupted. Students, activists, and citizens demanded justice. The University of the Philippines, Los Baños, became a center of protest and mourning. The families, though devastated, spoke out, reminding everyone of the real people behind the headlines. Their courage inspired a movement. The demand for justice grew louder each day. The case became a symbol of everything wrong with the political system. The involvement of a powerful mayor exposed deep corruption. The public's anger was about more than one crime. It was a call for a just society. The investigation led straight to Mayor Sanchez and his men. Despite his power, the evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses, including some of his own men, testified against him. In 1993, Sanchez and several aides were arrested for the rape and murder of Eileen and the murder of Allan. The trial was one of the most sensational in Philippine history. Sanchez denied everything, claiming he was home that night, but the prosecution's case was strong, with key witnesses and the chilling "gift for the mayor" quote. The trial lasted over a year, the nation watching every development. The evidence painted Sanchez as the mastermind. In March 1995, the verdict was delivered: guilty. Sanchez and 6 men were sentenced to 7 terms of reclusion perpetua. The judge called the crime a plot seemingly hatched in hell. The conviction was a landmark moment, proof that even the powerful could be held accountable. For a moment, justice seemed possible. The public celebrated the verdict as a victory, but the story was far from over. For decades, the case remained a painful memory, with Sanchez serving his sentence. But in August 2019, the wound reopened. News broke that Sanchez might be released under the Good Conduct Time Allowance Law. The law was meant to reward good behavior. But the idea of Sanchez's release sparked outrage. The public and the victims' families were horrified. Protests erupted online and in the streets. The government, facing massive backlash, quickly backtracked. Officials clarified that the law did not apply to those convicted of heinous crimes. The controversy exposed flaws in the justice system. It raised fears that powerful criminals could still manipulate the system. The near release was a reminder the fight for justice is never truly over. The nation was forced to confront its past once again. The case of Eileen Sarmenta and Allan Gomez left a permanent scar on the Philippines. It's a lesson about the dangers of unchecked power and the fragility of justice. The 2019 parole controversy showed that even after conviction, justice can feel uncertain. The case forced the nation to ask, does a life sentence truly mean life? The conviction was a victory, but the story exposed deep problems, impunity, political influence, and a vulnerable justice system. The fight for justice continues every time their story is told. Eileen and Allan are remembered with purpose, not just sadness. Their story warns us to remain vigilant and demand integrity from leaders. The echoes of their tragedy challenge the nation to never forget, and to keep fighting for a society where such horror can never happen again. Justice in their names remains a work in progress.